Hey, what's up? This is Mac on Demand, and today I am going to be chatting with the one and only Aja. Yes, that's right, rapper, model, entertainer, and TV personality. You may know them from RuPaul's Drag Race Season 9 and All Stars Season 3, but they have proven to be much more than that. They're hilarious and hugely talented in so many ways, and it was an honor to talk to them. Everything from quarantine to the Black Lives Matter movement, Doja Cat, All Stars 5, and much, much more. You don't want to miss it. It's a good one. It's a good one. It's a lot of good conversation and deep talks. So please stay tuned and check it out. And if you hear that noise, it's the chair, I promise. Okay, that's good. How are you?
I'm alive. It's definitely been like a really weird week, and it's been like an even weirder few months. So now I'm just kind of find out exactly how I feel about 2020.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, emotionally, mentally, mental health wise, you okay? You good?
Yeah, I feel good now. I feel like at first, especially with the whole COVID stuff, because I was on tour and I was in Australia, and then me and my boyfriend got stuck in Los Angeles for a while, and
Yeah.
people out there were acting rabid, and I was just and it had just started, and we were staying at one of my manager's apartments in West Hollywood, because I don't have a place out there, and she lives in a very uptight white neighborhood, so they were everywhere we went, they were sort of taking pictures of us and stuff, do you live here? Why are you in this building? Which was embarrassing, one, and two, that makes me feel uncomfortable. And then on top of that, in the supermarkets and stuff, forget it. It was wild. People were pushing people out the way, people fighting over little stuff, and I was bro, it hasn't even hit that hard here in Los Angeles. Y'all got 10 cases. Calm down.
I am so ashamed of us. I am. Oh man. Oh, bless your heart. Well, I'm glad that you made it back to where you call home. That's all that matters.
Thank God, honestly.
Yeah. I have some questions set up. Here's the thing, with everything going on, I don't know if it's going to be too cerebral, real deep and stuff, or...
Oh, that's where I go. I feel I always have these interviews and people want me to talk about clowny shit, and I'm just I'm not that type of person. I'm such a serious person, so I think people think I'm such a joker, but I'm really so serious, and then people leave the interview probably damn, I'm gonna go take a long shower now, because what the hell?
Oh, well, let's do this. Let's have a little therapy sesh. We could do that. Because I also have some fun shit too, if you want to. But I just, with everything going on with, of course, the protests, it's in, especially with the context of what I do for Black gay slaves, talk about issues that affect both of our communities that kind of are just being Black and then also being queer, and how there's so much that goes on that oppresses both communities, and just to bear the struggles and also the beauties of both identities is just, that's kind of just where I go. So also, first off, how are the protests and stuff in your neck of the woods? Is everything okay there?
So it's been crazy. I saw videos of the protests happening, and I think a lot of people are confusing everything that's going on. So I think I should make a point to say that the riots, the protests, and the looting are all three different things, and I don't think they all have anything to do with each other. Right. I think the people who are looting are sort of taking advantage of the situation and know that things are absolutely in the air, so they're how can I go do this and I won't get blamed for it? I think that's what's happening, because I don't see why anybody protesting would be doing that. And yes, there are people who are rioting, but I don't think their rioting has to do with stealing anything. Their rioting is more of the sense that they want to be heard. Yeah. That we're just trying to gain some awareness, or let the people who should be held responsible gain some self-awareness. I think so. Right now, I live in Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn, so my neighborhood is pretty chill right now. I haven't seen anything crazy. I don't really live. I live in the city, but like in the hood in the city, so it's not like anything crazy has been happening here. I hope it doesn't, but at the same time, there have been close neighborhoods. Like I heard in Bushwick, people were like throwing shit and setting shit on fire. Man, I don't even know. I don't even know who's doing it or what's happening, but I really refuse to believe that. I think it's all propaganda when people say that it's all connected. I don't believe that shit.
Yeah. My anxiety's been hitting lately. I just want to get that out the way, make sure you're safe, you're good, and everything's all right. I want to get back to you and your journey and everything. Knowing you as an entertainer, I want you to take me back to, well, do you remember the first time that you kind of realized that you were, I guess, quote unquote, different in the aspect of like, I guess, being queer, and also like understanding race and how people are treated differently because of it?
Yeah, so, you know, growing up, I grew up in this neighborhood, and my neighborhood growing up was predominantly black and like Afro-Latino and a lot of Caribbean people. So in my particular household, I'm adopted, but I still grew up with my mom's a light-skinned Puerto Rican woman, and my dad was a dark-skinned Trinidadian person. So we always had that sort of sense of like, you know how people grow up in other places and they don't see black people? Like where I grew up, the only white people I knew were like my teachers. I didn't know like white kids. We had like one white kid in my school, like, you know, and it was like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like you saw white people in the movies, you saw them on TV. Everybody in my neighborhood thought, oh, you don't see white people unless you go to like Manhattan, because that's where white people be. So I think it wasn't really until I started venturing out of my neighborhood, realizing that I was really a minority, and still less than a lot of other of my friends who were way more dark-skinned than me, because I still had that light-skin privilege of sort of like being racially ambiguous, where people wouldn't be able to tell where I'm from. Now, backstory, I ended up meeting my biological parents eventually. My mom is mixed race, and my dad is Nigerian. So
wow.
I still ended up on the spectrum somehow, and I was like, all right. But I still didn't have to face it as bad as my other friends. But let me tell you something. I realized when I was really young, when, and I'm talking about older white kids have you know, called me the N-word. I've been followed in stores all my life. Like even to this day, like if I go to like a high-end store, if I go to like even just the beauty supply up the block, like you can count on it that there's somebody watching you. You walk in, you see them staring at the cameras in the front as you walk around, or like you see someone come up to you and be like, do you need help? Do you need help? Do you need help? And I don't like that shit. And like my babysitter growing up, she was Afro-Cuban, and she used to get so pissed. Like we would walk in together and like, do you need help? Do you need help? And she would say, leave me the fuck alone. I don't need help. If I needed help, I would have asked you. But now I'm asking you to walk away. So please walk away. So it's been a learning experience, and nothing more was a slap in the face for me personally than when I made it on RuPaul's Drag Race, and I really got exposed to the world and not just New York. That's when my real like intense race journey started, where I got weird senses of support from communities that didn't know where I was really from, and then the people who knew that I was half black were very, very nasty about it. I would get like pictures of people editing gorillas over my face. I would get like people sending me like death threats, sending me all this shit, saying they were gonna throw acid in my face, and like it was like really crazy. And that was something I'm not even gonna lie, I never dealt with before being exposed to the public. And then it also became the thing of having to explain where I come from, because then I was too black for white people and too white for black people, and it was just like, what is going? And I think, you know, I'm in no place to say that my struggle as a mixed race person is above anybody else's struggle, but it definitely is weird when you don't fit in anywhere. And like you sort of are like trying to navigate, because even now my whole social media has been, I've stopped posting about myself because I don't need to promote myself right now. I need to promote what's going on in my community and what needs to be educated to other people, especially my white followers, because most of the Drag Race fans who I've accumulated are Caucasian, and I want them to get the message to respect the Black community and to be aware and to like spread more awareness, because white people are more apted to listen to white people. So, and I think people don't understand that. Like, they're gonna listen to you, so you spread the message. But like at the same time, I've been getting nasty messages like, "Oh, so now you're Black," and I'm like, "What?" Like, to me, that is like crazy. Like, I'm like, first of all, and I think this is the truth, and I want to say this on behalf of myself and on behalf of other mixed race people. When you're mixed race, and I think this is what upset a lot of people with the whole Doja Cat like sort of like thing that happened just 2 weeks ago, poor timing. Is that when you're mixed race, it's either you carry your Blackness with honor and pride, or you don't expect anything from the Black community at all. And that's sort of how I've always looked at it as a mixed race person. Will I always be Black? Yes. But if I don't respect and honor my darker skinned brothers and sisters and community, I'm not setting an example for those people who have light skin privilege like myself, and I'm not setting an example for the white community who will be opted to listen to me more than they would to one of my darker skinned brothers and sisters. And that's why I think it's important for me especially to use my voice right now, because I'm someone who's caught in between communities. So I'm like a medium in a way where I'm like, no, we have to push this narrative. We got to do.
I love everything you just said. You answered just so many questions, because I kid you not, right below my first question was exactly what you were talking about. This right here. I was like, some people who it's crazy because you speak on it. You just spoke on it just a bit, but you've also been speaking on it since you have been off of Drag Race, especially on Twitter. People, I guess, seem to not know that you are Black, and it just seems. I just interviewed Jamar Michael from Dear White People, and he has a similar issue to where I guess people look at him and they say, well, you're not Black enough, or they tell him he can't use certain words. And I want to know with you, how has that journey been, like having to basically defend, your heritage and how to, go about that with people?
So, to be honest with you, growing up, I never felt the need to defend my heritage because all my friends saw me as Black. So it was just kind of like we were just chilling, and it was just whatever. It wasn't until I got that platform where people were so suddenly confused. So again, that's why it was such a struggle for me, because I was like, wait, what? And then I started to have like this weird identity crisis where I'd be like, wait, am I not Black enough? Am I doing something wrong? But then I realized, no, like, I should just keep going about my life. I'm not being ignorant. Like, this is who I am. And I don't need to prove that to people. All I need to do is be there for my community. Especially since a lot of the people who felt very inclined to ask a lot of these questions were not of the Black community. So I went through a lot of race policing where people will be like, no, you're this. I thought you were this. And I'm like, that's great that you have a mind and you are able to accumulate thoughts, and I'm so happy for you. But unfortunately, your thoughts are not my reality. And my reality is embedded in me, in my soul, in my ancestors, and in my bloodline, and I can't change that. And I think also the big thing too is that people don't understand Black comes in different colors. And just because the word Black is used to label the race, I say Black with pride, but at the end of the day, Black can come in different tones, in different shades. Like, people don't understand. Like, for people like me, they will either call me like a yellow bone or some shit like that. Like, that's the terminology they be using down south. I don't really know about that, but
it is.
It's like, all right, I'm making sure.
I'm from South. Yellow bone, red bone, yeah, all of that, yeah.
And it would just be like a light skin, like a really light skinned Black person, or someone who's like mixed race, like. I think people are not educated in that sense because, again, to a lot of the world, it's all black and white, black and white, black and white. They don't see in between. And the same thing happens in the Latino community as well. My biological mother is part Puerto Rican. I grew up with a Puerto Rican woman. And what happens is I think that a lot of the Latino community doesn't realize that being Latinx or whatever, is not a race. You can be black and Latin, you can be white and Latin, and you can be Native American and Latin. And I don't think people realize that these cultures are byproducts of colonization. And I think that people in the Latin community need to really brush up on that specifically, because a lot of Latin America and Central America, a lot of those places have a huge African influence. And when they stay silent in these times, it really says something. And when they're dark skinned and they go, I'm not black, yes, you are. You are black. You may not want to be black because America, not America, but the colonizers from back in the day have embedded it in your soul that you should be ashamed of being black, but there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it at all. The beauty standard may tell you that you are not beautiful because that beauty standard is created by Anglo-Saxon features, but that don't mean shit. I think it's important what's happening now, because what's happening now is something that's happened time and time again. And it's going to keep happening until people really are seen as equal. I refuse to believe that right now, or even for any time since I've been alive, that anything has ever been equal. And when you said something interesting in the beginning of the interview, being queer and being black, we're intersectional beings. We're people who cross in two different communities that are both oppressed in different ways. So, and it sucks too, because a lot of times being queer, you become oppressed by other black people. And people don't understand that growing up in a black community, there's this sort of push for masculinity when you are born a man.
Exactly.
And so forth. So you're supposed to protect and defend your family. You're supposed to have that type of honor. And I see a lot of people today, they're talking about the pride of a black man and how being queer, dismantles that. Not necessarily.
Exactly.
It doesn't do that. I think what people don't realize is that there needs to be a balance in everything. And what we're doing is taking our soul, our spirit, our body, and whatever we have, and we're doing whatever works to balance ourselves. Everybody's balanced in a different way. If you being feminine and being a black man makes you happy and that's what balances you, people need to respect that. Everyone's going to come to equilibrium in a different way. And what's crazy too is that I've seen many a black feminine man still be heterosexual and have a complete family and children, everything. It's just that people are so caught up on enforcing these gender roles, but they don't realize that shit is a byproduct of colonization too. And so is our idea of marriage. So is Christianity. These are all things that were pushed upon black communities and African tribes back in the day when they brought them over. I even saw a post on Instagram today where some dude was writing about it was an old ass letter from the 1800s, and he's talking about basically dismantling the minds of African people to weaken them and destroy the backbone so they can be converted and think differently. So, and then that's what would be the domination of Africa. And I think that I just think that is crazy. It's crazy that we've let it get this far, but I think in the last 10 years or so, I can also say that I've seen a lot more black people try to get more in touch with their roots. I've seen a lot more black people sort of exploring their taking DNA tests, African DNA. I've done it too, learning exactly what your roots are, where you come from, and how can you relate to your culture? How can you elevate your ancestry? How can you do different things to connect with yourself? Because that's another thing, is that because our ancestors didn't choose to come here, a lot of us don't know where we come from. So we're just left with this thought of the black race as just one thing. But that's another thing, and that's another reason why black people come in different shades, because there are different origins of black people. It's crazy. You ask a white person, where you're from, where your family from? Most likely they could be oh, I have a great grandmother in England, or I have ancestry in Scotland, this and the other. How often can you ask a black person where's your ancestry from, and they'll know oh, I have I'm Sierra Leonean, I'm Gambian. They won't know.
No. Unless
they go out their way to really find out.
I tell people my grandfather's from Alabama. I know that much, and then there's that. Yeah, it's very true.
Hey, what's up? This is Mac on Demand. So remember that this is only a portion of the interview, and if you want to hear the full clip, head on over to our podcast.